This is In Touch with Terry, a power-packed podcast for the medical aesthetics industry.
I just discovered your podcast, and I feel like I've hit a gold mine.
This is someone who's got a lot of knowledge. She's been there, done that.
Terry Ross is a former Fortune 500 executive, international speaker, founder and co-CEO of Apex Platform, and Terry Ross Consulting.
Just listening to her energy and her passion and just how hardcore she is.
Her knowledge of the industry and just her connections in general are phenomenal.
In Touch with Terry will bring you solutions to increase operational and employee efficiency and practice profitability. Plus, feature some of the top industry experts as guests.
The Apex team literally changed the game for us.
Terry, your courses and your podcast are just so helpful.
She made me feel like I could do this.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Now, here's Terry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to In Touch with Terry. I'm super jazzed to be here today to talk to you about something that I did personally when I had Lasky Aesthetics, and that is the importance of having a mentor in your practice. So really the value of staff mentoring. And now more than ever, there are so many job opportunities that are across the board because the retention rates in aesthetic medicine is extremely high, which means now more than ever, employee retention is equally as important, making sure that we are retaining good quality people. So there are multiple reasons why people decide to leave their jobs. Some are personal, some are professional, and it's typically for a few different reasons. Either they lack the leadership, the culture, they're not getting the right career development opportunities that they would like, and their path for advancement within the practice is it's really, really unclear. And so the value of mentoring and establishing and implementing a program is an effective tool to help you increase your employee retention rates and really, really engage your staff. And I'd like to just share a little personal story that when I left working for Fortune 500, I was with Medicis, which is now Galderma, and I launched Cool Sculpting in the US and Canada. I was given an opportunity. I started Terry Ross Consulting, and then I quickly was given an opportunity to be a managing partner of a medical spa in Beverly Hills. And as you guys know, how passionate I am about training and education and sales and converting and analytics, I took the opportunity to mentor people that I hired. At the time, there was 2 people at this medical spa, which eventually grew to 11 people, and then we sold it. But the value of that was that I had expectations. So coming off of these couple of conferences that have already transpired this year in 2022, the number one thing that comes back is culture, leadership, and training. And that is something that we can control. We have the opportunity to develop and to really be good leaders because we are an entrepreneur if you have a medical aesthetic business. And so the value of when I had Lasky was that I had expectations of how I wanted them to answer the phone and follow up and convert the leads and how they communicated and what they said and so many factors, how the consultation process was. But there would be no way that they would be able to do that if I did not have them equally shadowing me. And so it's not always ideal. I get it if you own a business to have them shadow you. But the point of this podcast today is to really identify who within your practice has a sense of skill set or an ability or a trait that you want to partner your new people with. Because the interesting thing is that when you look at some studies that have come back, the Association for Talent Development, companies that offer a mentorship program increase employee engagement and retention by 50%. That's a lot, you guys. I looked at some statistics and it cost a practice anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000 to onboard and train. So think about the value of making sure that they have the right training appropriate when they start the practice and understand what your expectations are. So when we think about everyone in the practice, your current employees, your new employees, your management, everybody, I'm sure you would agree, can benefit from continued education and professional development. So on the clinical side, mentors can help with honing in their clinical skills, improving in the patient relationship, the consultation, understanding personality types, again, having the ability to overcome objections, more importantly, ask the right questions, and the ability to develop a long-term treatment plan and not feel like they're selling. And then the ability to troubleshoot and really getting into the emotions of the patient when something perhaps doesn't go right. And if you think about the front office team or your administrative staff or your patient care coordinator roles, mentors can also help them develop and hone in on their customer service skills, their phone skills, their salesmanship, education around speaking with patients. So again, nothing feels salesy, their ability to communicate effectively. And that is 80% listening and less talking. And then their leadership skills. What are they doing within their role? Are they able to contribute on a high level? Because every support person is equivalent to generating a revenue source. And there is some statistics and some measures around that we'll save for another time. But again, everybody, I'm sure you'll agree, you have to inspect what you expect. I say that often, but we're never above learning, and we have to constantly push ourselves to keep growing. So when we think about, our long-term employees and why they leave, it's, again, I mentioned a couple of reasons, in the beginning, but it's because they feel that they've maybe even reached a cap in their position and they don't have anywhere else to go. So what is the career path that they're on? If they're a front desk girl, do they want to stay there? Do you have performance evaluations, 6 months and annually? Do you talk about where their weaknesses are and where their strengths are? And then again, that person is going to have the ability to coach them so that they can strive for possibilities within the company that are limitless. Because look, let's face it. Again, I say it all the time, but I'm just going to repeat it. I think there's strength in repetition and in understanding that there's no MBA school. People don't work in practices and go, even if you have a health administration degree, which I do, no one teaches you the fundamentals, which is, again, I'm always bringing this back to why we developed Apex platform, that we have to really think about why we started the business in the first place. What kind of team are you hiring? Do you give them personality tests? Do their traits fit the expectation of the role? And then who are they assigned to? Which is, again, this whole structure of mentoring. So when we think about what kind of arrangement that mentorship can be, there's several methods. One of them is doing it one-on-one. And if you think about a mentorship program, you think of more of a mentor-mentee relationship, which doesn't sometimes often always work for everybody. But if you have a medical aesthetics practice and, perhaps you have a busy injector, that might not be the most valuable efforts for that injector to be mentoring somebody, because ultimately we need them to make money. But we do want to make sure that there's time set aside on a clinical perspective where, and back to the treatment plan and the value of that, is that maybe you have several different clinicians that can only do certain things. Now, look, they can be a master of something, but if you really want to maximize your revenue potential, I want to make sure that all of my providers have the capability of not just doing injectables or not just doing lasers, but that ultimately they can perform all of the services that are valuable to the practice so that you can, again, make sure you're hitting your benchmarks and your revenue per hour numbers. So the first one I said was a one-on-one mentor-mentee relationship. The second method or model is that you have a whole practice that's a collective group of people sort of in a rotation. And the whole practice collective strategy typically is usually the best option. And that way, everybody has a chance to be partnered up with various mentors within the practice, and then they can rotate and learn new skills, both clinically and leadership, culturally, and administratively. And that gives you a greater breadth and depth of the person within the practice. I mean, I don't know about you, but I still strive to this day. I have always had coaches. I'm not above pushing myself, more importantly, to make sure that I am reaching my fullest potential so that I can give back to you guys and give you my best efforts in terms of the resources and the things that I can help educate you with. So you deserve and you owe it to yourself to give your team, if you want that quality team, to give yourself the same aspects of the type of business that you want. So that we talked about one-on-one, a whole practice collective strategy. And then the third is that you could outsource personal development and get a specific outside coach. or a sales trainer, which you guys know I offer that too, and I love to do that. And it's really important when we think about that, though, is that what is the exit strategy for you? Do you want to sell your company? What are your end goals? Because we kind of have to look at the end goal and kind of back into that when we're thinking about the type of people we want to hire. How are we compensating them? Is it within alignment of the goals? Do I have the right support people to support the clinical people? Are we maximizing our revenue potential? I mean, there's so many things other than just doing good doctoring or good whatever provide. If you're a provider, good work. Of course we want that, and of course that's first and foremost. But it's really about the people. I always say that, like, I would be nothing without my team. So it's about the people that are surrounding you. Because if you think about it from an external perspective, again, you have your website, you have the girl or the guy who's answering that first phone call or answering that first web lead. And if you're putting money toward that stuff and it is a shitty experience, I mean, right? We've lost somebody. So the value of this outsourcing person is that, they may have a certain level of expertise or leadership that maybe they could give them, more time and attention. So you really have to kind of figure out what is the best method for your practice. What are the benefits, right? What are the mentoring benefits to the employees? Well, setting up a program might seem daunting and you're like, oh my God, again, same things. When are they going to have time? They're not going to want to do it. Listeners, my tribe, I love you so much. But that's just such a bullshit excuse. Like, you make time. I think about dating. I'm single. You guys know that. People show up, whether you're a friend, a family member, an employee, a mentor, a coach, you just show up. You show up and you're present for the things that matter to you. And it's funny when we're all wondering, like, why somebody doesn't call you back. Well, then they must not want to talk to you. And so it's really the same thing when we think about what do you want for your business. I wish I could make it perfect every day, but I can't. I can give you me and my team and the resources and the strength and my craziness because I'm super passionate about it. And I'm unapologetically passionate about what it requires to be successful. And these things that we're talking about, that we always talk about on these podcasts, are the things that I feel strongly about that you must do. Because what it can do for your people is they're going to have a sounding board, right? To be able to talk to somebody and confide in somebody and help them navigate through these challenges, in addition to furthering their skill set. They're going to have somebody to listen, to vent and not hold things internally and then build up this resentment against your boss, or where they just have a lack of communication altogether. They can be a guide for conflict resolution, to talk through problems and really get them thinking out of the box in that solution-oriented mindset. And then, it's just a safe place. It's a non-judgmental, safe place to be. And again, on the personal side of things, leadership, communication, culture, let's be honest, we all, whatever position we're in life, again, with your spouse, your kids, your friends, your bosses, employees want to equally feel seen and heard and understood. And oftentimes we're busy in our day-to-day. We neglect giving compliments. And I don't mean like, hey, Susie, you did a great job today. Like, hey, Susie, you did a great job at converting, it looks like there's 20 calls that came in and you converted 10 of them. Amazing job at converting 50%. We have to be very specific. That's back to understanding SMART goals. And then if we're going to give employee accolades on a great job, maybe they didn't complete it in its entirety of 100% effort. But if they were giving their all and giving their best and trying without giving up, that is something to be admired and recognized for. And we oftentimes just maybe are looking at the person who's just doing a good job, but is good enough? Or are they complacent? Like, could they do better? So sometimes it's the underdog that is like pushing through, figuring out and being resourceful not just that old adage of this is the way it's always done, so this is what I'm just going to continue to do. And so a couple questions, that you could ask your team. Hey guys, how are you feeling today in your day, in your day-to-day work? How are you feeling? Where can I support you? What's working? What's not? The whole continue, stop, and start. I love that. Let's continue to do this and stop doing this and start doing that. That's a valuable thing to do and talk about in your meetings. Really, again, using the layer model that I teach, saying, I hear you. I completely hear what you're saying. I understand. Help me figure out how we can, best work through this. And what solutions do you have? Again, we're very quick to just sort of give the answers and give the responses. And sometimes we just have to shut up. I mean, look, I tell my team to sort of it's 80% listening and it's your ability to ask really, really good, valuable questions, because the questions are what get down to the root. And again, it really makes people feel heard and understood. What else can you ask them? How did you feel about that phone call today? So if she was price shopping, how did you answer that? I mean, we can really go on and on. And so when thinking about the steps it takes to create the program, so your team can either be the biggest asset or your greatest weakness. And we want to make sure that they are your greatest asset within the company. So a top-notch team in any organization, right? In any organization. And I feel like this is where medical aesthetics is the underdog. Probably anybody having a medical practice of any sorts, is that we need to have a team that's well-trained. That is non-negotiable. If you expect revenue, if you expect patients in the door, if you expect 5-star customer service and quality, then we definitely have to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for success and you are investing in your team. So they're well-trained, they're skilled, they're competent, they're solution-oriented, they're passionate for the industry. And that it's not just a job. That's what I like to say, right? Where they're just winging it and showing up just to do their work. But again, there's no accountability built in. So the mentoring programs should ultimately be aligned with business goals, which means you should designate a staff member to lead the program. Ideally, this person would have strong leadership skills, really determine the purpose, the structure, the length of time, the pace, and then what best practices are going to be within that program. Then you want to decide on some metrics to put into place to evaluate and measure their success, and really making sure they understand and you have, again, a bought-in agreement so they feel empowered and so happy that they've gotten this job and that you care about their success. And then finally, providing the training and the mentoring of what that looks like. So here are a few thought starters as we kind of wrap up this episode. I want you to think about where you want your practice to be, not today, but a year from now. What are the goals, not just your revenue goals? What are your revenue goals? What are your retention goals? What are your new patient goals? What are your conversion goals? And what are your goals for your employees in terms of their professional development within your company? And then what would that mentorship mean to you, knowing that they would have somebody that they could count on and somebody that you can hold accountable? And then I want you to work backward. I want you to determine these monthly or quarterly milestones so that you can foster happy people who are invested in staying with you for a long time and not jumping to your competitor down the street. Then I want you to create plans for your clinical team, your front desk team, your management team, your sales teams, so that everybody has, again, very specific goals. So that when someone leaves, and you guys know how hard it is hard. That when someone leaves and another person enters your organization and they're hired to fill that role, there is a structure in place and there's no need to invent the wheel. Do you think about how freeing and empowering that is? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but we're in hyper growth mode. I mean, think about me a couple years ago. I don't know, I had 3 consultants. We're up to almost 15, 16 employees, and we're growing rapidly with our success team and more consultants and more developers. And it is a constant battle, and it's my responsibility. We have to make sure that we have the right team in place to support all of you guys and make sure that I am committing to my goals to you, and I want you guys to do the same. So if this was valuable to you, again, this segment about staff mentoring, and it resonated with you in terms of you really going, God, you know what? I could do better at that. And I don't have anything in place, and I'm lacking the training program. And I maybe doing this mentorship would be great. I'm really going to ask you to take a pause, evaluate your team. Are they in the right positions? Do they have the right mindset? Do they have the right personality traits to be successful in that role? Are you measuring their success? Like, honestly, if you're the boss or you're the practice manager, are you having meetings to say, hey, how many leads came in this week? What were converted? What weren't? Why not? Where are you struggling? Where can I support you? You know, how many consults came in? How many closed? Why not? What did they come in for? Were they price shoppers? I mean, we could go down this path, but you guys really have to take this opportunity to pick your business apart, because that's what it requires. And again, here, us at the Apex team, we are here to support you and help you along this journey to make sure that you are set up for success so that your team is thriving and raving about the business that they work for, not just in the treatments and surgeries and services that you offer, but that they are like, holy shit, this is the place that I want to grow old with. I love my job. I love the patients, but more importantly, I love that I'm getting an opportunity to learn and grow. So again, if you found this episode valuable, I would encourage you to please send me a like, a comment, a share it with your friends. And more importantly, we are here. I invite you to always schedule a discovery call with our team at apexplatform.com. And you guys, I want to hear from you. I'm always constantly like trying to build out these segments, but your needs are very valuable to me. So I can't wait to talk to you and see you in the next episode of In Touch with Terry. Thanks, guys. Ciao.